Welcome back, everybody, to the Beggars Canyon Boys. This is episode number 17. Our 17 again episode.
Wow, okay. I love this trend that
It's really funny, right?
Yeah.
It's me again. Surprise, surprise. Jackson back with my
Surprise guest.
surprise special guest. We'll see if we let him back on, depending on how well he performs on the pod today. We got Ryan over here.
Oh my god, the crowd goes wild. Yeah, we need a soundboard here.
Yeah, we should.
With a bunch of Star Wars noises.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. The crowd going wild is kind of similar to the TIE Fighter whale sound, you know.
Mm-hmm. I do know there's also like pod racing in the prequels, so I bet there's some crowd noises associated with that we could pool.
Okay. Well, we're going to chill on.
Okay, the tone has shifted here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, never mind.
All I know is that there's a Boonta Eve classic in the Droids cartoon that Boba Fett entered in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm just joking. I'm not actually upset at you.
Oh, okay, good. That's good.
We're not talking about any of that today. No pod racing. I don't know what the...
Okay,
I'm going to go ahead and say again, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Pod racing in Palpatine's garden? Doesn't ring a bell?
No.
Okay. A lot of racing in the Star Wars universe.
That's true. Well, you know, George Lucas loves cars and loves racing. His, American Graffiti, all about kids racing cars and stuff. The Millennium Falcon is often described as a custom hot rod. So Ryan,
Jesus, okay, man. Our last episode opened very chaotically. Also, this isn't nearly as bad, but holy hell!
Yeah, sorry, I was just kind of staring at him for a little bit. But any Star Wars thoughts on your mind before we dive into the content of today?
Sure. I did tell you that this was the night, by the way, that I think I texted you because we were going to record, and I was like, hey, I just did not sleep. I didn't go to bed for the night. So I was up for many an hour. And eventually when I did go to bed, I had a long, long slumber, and I woke up, and I told you the name that was on the top of my mind was Tot Donita.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, which was the Twi'lek from... what was that called?
The Tales of the Jedi
I always want to say The Last Jedi, and I know that's wrong.
But no, it's okay. Yeah, Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, who was I just think it's funny. I don't know why, in my head, that clicked for some reason, and now that name is locked in. I know who that is now forever. Tot Donita.
He's done so many interesting things.
Yeah. Truly, one of the most tertiary characters of the thing.
He's cool though.
He's cool looking.
I think I said his name a bunch when we were talking about it, so that might be why.
Yeah, maybe just your voice echoing through my head. Your impact, man.
Hey, I love having influence on your life and your subconscious thoughts. Well, guess what?
Holy hell, yeah.
I have a Star Wars thought for you. More of a Star Wars little trivia piece.
Oh, okay.
I went to see Gladiator 2.
Oh, how was it?
Pretty mediocre, I think.
Unfortunate, okay.
Yeah. Some nice, big action set pieces and cool violence and stuff, but just the acting and the script and the story all around, just, so bland and boring, I thought.
That's a bummer. The acting was really good in the first one. I just watched it. I don't know if I told you
that. Yeah, you did. Sitting, looking at the credits. First unit assistant director, Ben Burtt. What the frick? Sound designer and of Star Wars and writer of The Great Heap.
Oh, okay. Whoa!
Yeah, creator of the R2-D2 sounds, all the spaceship, all the sounds.
And what did he do for Gladiator 2?
He was the first AD, assistant director.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what a first AD is.
Well, I'm not assuming you don't, just in case any dumbass listening doesn't know what that means.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. I forgot you weren't just, having a one-on-one with me right now.
No. Hey, trust me, I wish I was. I don't want to do this.
We can turn it off. True, we don't want to do this, but we've run through all our episodes already that were in the tank.
So we have to. I'm just kidding. I enjoy doing it, actually. Do you want to?
Me too. I find this personally fulfilling and enriching.
I agree, and I'm learning a lot about a universe that I enjoy learning about. What series would you like to talk about first? Today we have read 3 little miniseries, I guess. Well, 2 miniseries in the beginning of our first kind of ongoing in the Dark Horse line of Star Wars comic books. One, I guess, is technically a group of 4 one-shots. They're not like grouped together on Marvel Unlimited or anything. They're always considered to be like one-shots, but I don't understand why it wasn't just like Jabba the Hutt miniseries 1 through 4.
Yeah, me too. I was going to read them because I didn't think I had to read them in order, I was going to read them out of order. Just like which one sparked my interest first. But then I immediately realized, yeah.
Yeah, they follow each other pretty directly.
Yeah.
So we had that. Then we also had the Louise Simonson written River of Chaos miniseries, a little 4-issue thing. And then we read the first 4 issues of the Rogue Squadron comic book series. This is written by, a story by Michael A. Stackpole and the script by Mike Barron for the Rogue Squadron series. Yeah, and those Jabba the Hutt things written by Jim Woodring. So, yeah, what's sparking your interest to talk about right now?
Let's do it in the order that I read them, which was Jabba, and then River of Chaos, and then Rogue. What's it called?
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, that's the order I read them into. So
okay.
That sounds good to me.
Okay. Gar Sapoon hit?
Yeah, the Gar... What even is it actually called? Because I had it in my head as that. Yeah, you're right. The Gar Sapoon hit.
Okay, it does sound wrong like saying it, but...
So yeah, these are 4 little issues. We got the Gar Sapoon hit, the Hunger of Princess Nampi, the Dynasty Trap, and Betrayal.
You know what? This may be controversial. You may feel free to completely disagree. Of everything that we've read for this episode, I enjoyed these the most. And frankly, I didn't think I was going to.
Yeah.
And they're not like... They're pretty surface level as far as comics go. But they're kind of just like fun, silly Jabba adventures that don't do anything to like impact my mood negatively. And then there's just like fun... little Jabba moments in here where he is essentially scheming and getting wins in the way that I would think like Boba Fett would as he's bounty hunting.
Yeah.
But like Jabba's just doing it successfully. It feels like you could superimpose Boba Fett into this type of comic, and that would do a lot for his reputation, which is quickly waning in my head.
Yeah, it's kind of in the toilet right now.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. I'm not sure if it's my favorite of the things or not. I did like River of Chaos too, but I enjoyed it. Like, yeah, like you said, there's not like too much meat on the bone here or anything, but they are quick, smooth, fun, like easy reads with some honestly like shocking violence at some moments. And yeah, like you said, like Jabba scheming constantly, and it's really fun to see I guess we can dive right into it. The first issue is pretty strong, I feel like, where the whole time, and again, like these are easily the least words on the page of any comics we've read so far, which was like pretty refreshing in this era of like kind of dense, wordy pages on especially what we've been reading has been pretty dense, I think.
Maybe that's part of why I enjoyed it too. It felt like just a casual breeze, you know?
Yeah. And the art is like bright and simple, but like this cool kind of almost like ironic, cartoony style in a way or
Yeah,
something.
and Jabba looks gross and gnarly. Like they
Yeah.
did a pretty good job with it for this style, like his
He's
tongue
like
and
drooling
everything.
the whole time. and
Yeah,
everything.
weirdly, like the art style matches itself, but Jabba just being like a gross character within this art style, it reminded me of like Junji Ito a little bit. And I don't know if it's the way that like his tongue will curl and shift and stuff, and like
Yeah.
all the drool coming off of
I
it, or
could
like
see
the
that.
curls in him, but just like it. I mean, I guess he's like a step away from being a body horror character anyway. But,
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, that's a good comp because I totally see that. I didn't think of that, but you're so right. Like, yeah, it's kind of yeah. Showing a screenshot right now where he's just like squeezing the server guy at the banquet that he's at in the first issue, and he's just like, I don't know, wants to eat him or something.
yeah, just being like a little force of chaos.
But this first issue is like pretty genuinely funny where there's this guy who I what does he even want from this guy? Just like, oh, they're kind of like trading artifacts and stuff, and Jabba keeps quote unquote joking like, hey, but just so you know, like I did plant a bomb in your palace and it's gonna go off. And the guy's like, very funny, Jabba, like, okay, we already had all our guys check everything out, and like there's
Yeah.
no way there's a bomb here. And he's like, yeah, but there is though.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I'm not joking.
And he's like, well, I thought you may do something like that, so I've got this one guy here who's basically a bomb squad in one person, and he's already determined there's no bombs here. So
yeah.
absolutely.
And then like the twist at the end is that Jabba knew that like this Imperial bodyguard guy that was hired like hated the people of this guy for like killing his family and stuff, like
Yeah.
like sort of running seemingly a very like violent war crime on his planet
Yeah.
and killing a bunch of civilians.
I think he
and
says
stuff.
like, you hung my family by their ankles and made me watch as like they died. Like,
yeah, like intense. This is easily like the most violent stuff we've seen so far.
yeah.
Like, people's like heads explode, people's guts come out. Like, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. And, you know, for Jabba, you know, kind of acting characteristically as a villain here, it all feels very like, I'm like, this still feels like Star Wars. We're just like looking at it through a different lens, through a POV character who's like a bad guy. So
Yeah.
makes sense.
I love Bib Fortuna through this whole thing too.
Yeah.
Really hilarious, like Starscream type of character where like he's constantly trying to scheme to like overthrow Jabba the Hutt, and he hates him. But Jabba always like catches him right before he pulls off his plan or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, yeah, just go ahead and read that fourth issue because it is a nice little like tie up to the jokes of the first three issues.
I did
you
not
didn't?
read the fourth issue.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry. As you are saying it now, I'm remembering the text exchange we had this morning. I'm so sorry I forgot to read it.
No worries. I don't. It's totally fine.
What happens in the fourth? So it's a follow up to that because that is a really funny bit that they have going.
Yeah. So the fourth one is them. They get home to Tatooine, and the first three are kind of similar, like episodic little things. Jabba kind of fucking over or pulling some trick where it seems like they've got the advantage on him, and then he does some twist where he's gonna like take all their money and kill everybody pretty much.
Yeah.
And they come home in the fourth issue back to his palace on Tatooine, and he's chilling with these friends of his, and Bib Fortuna's all like, oh, Jabba, you must be so tired. Like, yeah, go to bed. And he gets a group of people that work for Jabba that want to like overthrow him and stuff, and they're like, okay, we're gonna do it tonight. Bib Fortuna's like, oh, we want to overthrow him, but we can't kill him. I'll hold him at gunpoint so that we can like, get the code to his vault or something like that.
Yeah, his ship was like voice locked. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, I think it was that. Like, Bib Fortuna didn't know how to get the treasure or whatever. But these two guys that Jabba was like partying with, after he falls asleep, they unload like these little alien like lizard things all over the castle, and they start going crazy, and they're gonna kill Jabba. And then Bib Fortuna's like, no, he can't die, and so he like shoots all of them and saves Jabba's life, and all the other guys die. And so then it's just him and Jabba wakes up and he's like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I was worried you were about to betray me, but now I know that, like, I can really count on you because you saved my life. It's just going to be me and you forever. And he's like, oh, no.
Okay, yeah. That's good fun.
Yeah. That kind of thing.
No, I think the bit of him, it's almost the bookend to, I think, the 3 issues that I read every time where it's basically, I mean, as you said, Jabba's about to, like, lose, and then as Jabba's about to lose, this guy is, like, making cases for, like, we should join the other side now, because Jabba's gonna lose, so we should just go with whoever might be winning. Mm-hmm. And then, Jabba ends up winning, and is like, you shouldn't have not trusted me, you should have had more faith, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you're right. I think... Yeah, Bib Fortuna keeps constantly being like, yeah, this is the time that they're going to get him.
My favorite of these, though, was, and let me see if I can find the actual name of the issue, maybe the Great Dynasty one. Is that the third?
The Dynasty Trap?
Yeah, is that the third one?
Yeah.
I just thought, like, again, pretty simple plot, but super, super funny issue.
Yeah, it is.
Where, I forget, why is Jabba there again? Why is it just another sort of, like, trade deal thing that he's doing?
There's this guy, I can't even remember the names of these characters, but like there's
they're so unimportant. So that's I mean, as we'll find out shortly here, they're
for sure. Pretty much everybody dies in this that isn't Jabba or Bib Fortuna.
Yeah.
But there's a guy who's like the governor or something of a planet, and there's another guy who's like threatening that guy's power. And this guy's friends with Jabba, and he's like, "Oh, if you kill this guy for me, I'll give you money," or something like that.
It's the important thing here, though, is also that like the governor guy is like going senile or something. Like,
oh yeah.
He like we see him yell at his kids in a way where like he's almost treating them like his underlings, like soldiers in the past or something, and he's saying he's gonna kill them, and then he's like, "Oh, sorry, kids, just don't fight, don't bicker anymore."
Yeah,
and then like he thinks Jabba is like working for him and is disobeying him when he doesn't want to go kill this guy.
Yeah, you're right. I kind of forgot about that angle of it. But yeah, so there's this guy, and they keep saying his name throughout the whole issue, so I wish I could remember it.
I'm trying to find it. It starts with a V, I think. It's like Vivo something or something like that.
So like the governor guy dies or the son convinces Jabba to kill the governor, and then they turn on him as soon as the son takes power. Then the daughter convinces Jabba to kill the son, and then they turn on him as soon as she takes power, and then Jabba kills the daughter and then leaves, and then finds the other guy, and he's like, "You're this guy? All right, well, I'll kill you too."
Yeah, so the sequence of deaths is so funny to me, though, just because basically, because the governor was like really senile and like kind of losing it, and everyone there knew, when Jabba is like in his bedroom, which the son has set up, and by the way, the panel where like Jabba's arms come out from like underneath his neck, kind of when he strangles the guy.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, really strange.
That was another one where he like just punches somebody down off of his like floating platform. That was really strange.
I don't like to see that. But it's just so funny because, like, Jabba's strangling him, and then the guards come in and they, like, hesitate for a moment. They're like, should we stop this? Yeah. And then the next panel is them joining in with a pillow, smothering the dude. Super funny. It's hilarious. Really funny. And then, as you said, it just becomes, like, the domino effect of like betraying. But I don't know. I just like, again, simple sort of setup for an issue and like very predictable where things were going. But it tickled me, man. It tickled me.
Yeah, it was like that like fun, cynical type of thing. Like I think yeah, yeah. They look at each other and then they're like, "Oh, should we do something?" And then they join in. Yeah, it's awesome.
Also, again, just to emphasize, when this daughter character gets eaten by Jabba,
Oh
again,
yeah, he fucking bites.
that's nasty, dude.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
some gnarly artwork there. Again, really reminiscent of like Junji Ito body horror to me.
Yeah, you're right. He wraps her up with his tongue and pulls her in. You see her legs like kicking out.
Yeah.
There's another part too where he straight up just like bites someone's head off too, right?
Yeah.
I forget where that
Oh.
is, but
No, wait, it's you're thinking, I think that's in the second one when they go, I forget.
oh, that's Princess Nampi who bites off his pilot's head.
Yeah, were you
right?
thinking of something else?
No, that is what I was
Oh,
thinking
okay.
of. You're right. Yeah.
Man, I love how you can remember the name Princess Nampi. Does she show up elsewhere or something?
No, that's just the title of the issue, so that's why
sure,
I can
yeah.
remember that.
And I guess she does acidically explode at the end of the issue.
Yeah, that was
This
pretty
is
awesome.
like violent.
Yeah. We haven't seen Star Wars stuff get like this, really. And even the other stuff we read had a little bit more violence than we've been seeing, too.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm saying, I don't want to jump ahead, but someone's hand gets, well, I guess we've
like-
seen that a lot also, amputations.
but this was like bloody and showed like his bones sticking out of his arm and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know really what else to say about the Jabba the Hutt things other than they were pretty fun, and I would recommend them because it takes like 5 minutes to read each
Yeah.
issue, and they are genuinely funny, good art, good time. And Jabba comes across as like actually smart and conniving in a cool way in this, I feel like.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense why he's the boss.
Yeah. Like that the idea of like a guy who, well, I guess he does do the violent acts himself in this, but especially in the first issue, it's really like, oh, you just have the whole situation manipulated around you and you just sit there and all the pieces move because
Yeah.
you pre-planned everything.
It's like watching Walter White figure out a little Breaking Bad plan, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, fun stuff. Shall we go to River of Chaos?
Let's go to River of Chaos by the Power Pack creators.
Yes. Louise Simonson.
The artwork too, I think, is the same person
And
who did. I think it's the exact creative team for Power Pack, actually. Which, fun fact,
June Brigman.
yes, I dislike Power Pack.
Hey, I mean, I don't think anyone would blame me for it. I think it's nice for kids, but it's nothing
Yeah.
amazing.
I like Louise Simonson's. I love her work on X Factor.
Yeah, me too. And her New Mutants is pretty solid as well.
Agree.
This, yeah, you said you didn't like it very much.
Yeah, it just felt like something I couldn't really get into. Wasn't caring about like any of the characters that we were being introduced to, and then like the characters that were in it that we already knew. I was like, oh, it's cool to see them, but I don't know. I feel like I had this issue with the last Dark Horse comic we read too, Dark Empire 2 or whatever it was called. Just felt like nothing really of like substantial happened the entire time.
Yeah. I could see that. I do think like it probably could have worked as 2 issues instead of 4. And there's not too much. But what I found interesting about it was just I don't think we've, it's not like this is a unique thing, but to like stories in general, but I don't think we've seen a Star Wars story from an Imperial's perspective really yet, or like the process of an Imperial officer, pilot, stormtrooper, whatever, like defecting and
Yeah,
realizing what's wrong with his side of things and everything. And it was kind of cool because so the main plot of this is there's this Imperial pilot Ace, and his name is Ranulf Trummer, and he's the son of Admiral Trummer, and this guy Grand Moff Lynch gives him a quote unquote promotion to go spy on this guy Governor Grigor on this planet. Maheli. All right. I was just trying to get all the proper nouns out of the way real quick.
for sure. I do like the kind of thought process of like when he goes down and is undercover, I think gets attacked by stormtroopers and is like, well, wait, is this like a kind of a, am I undercover or am I just being tricked?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's kind of a fun thought process.
And I think it was kind of cool when he was with the rebels, how he was like, oh man, well, I really like these people and I don't want anything bad to happen to them. It's kind of too bad that like the Empire is correct and these people are misguided. Well, if I can just get rid of Governor Grigor, who's like corrupt and like doing illegal mining operations with slaves on here, like the real empire will come through and they'll run the planet correctly, and that will just convince the rebels to like stop fighting, and that will be a peaceful solution to it. And it's kind of cool to see like that like naive perspective be shattered, and it's like, oh well, what is he stupid? Well, like a little bit at first he is kind of stupid because his dad is an admiral, like he's just been brainwashed in this thing his whole life, and then he spends time with people and realizes that like, oh, like, well, it's important to be nice. I guess.
No, yeah, I mean, it's I do like that message, and I like how it's like sort of a ideological rehabilitative path for him, but yeah, I don't like him, you know.
Nah, I don't really like him either, I guess.
And
yeah.
I just like I don't know, I found I need some character to like anchor myself to be able to like go through a story and care about the things that are happening in it explicitly. I couldn't find someone like really that stood out like that in this. And then, you know, when Leia's involved, I'm like, oh, okay. Or sorry.
Yeah, Leia's around.
Oh, am I? Okay, no. Sorry. For a second, I was mixing up the other story.
In Rogue Squadron, Winter's around.
Yes,
yeah.
I wanted to make sure. Because in that one, it's like Winter pretending to be Leia the whole time.
Yeah.
And this one is just Leia being Leia. Yeah. But yeah, but even her, which I was like, oh my god, cool. We've got Leia here, and we've got Louise Simonson writing Leia.
Yeah, and like none of the other main people are around, so like Leia might have a chance to shine right here.
Yeah, I was excited, and like I think I've mentioned previously, I've been wanting that. Then it doesn't really happen to like a capacity where I feel fulfilled.
Leia's not that good in this. I mean, she's not awful or anything, but she doesn't really like do anything interesting or have like any great lines or anything like that, I don't think.
I feel like often when like the core characters get utilized in stuff like this, and not everything, but they come across just as like very surface level versions of themselves. And I don't know if that's writers wanted to be safe and not like, or even like they're mandated not to make too strong decisions like with the characters and like where they are mentally and stuff. But I don't know, I would like to see a little bit more insight into like how they're actually thinking, how they feel about things, rather than just like them sort of being there symbolically as a Star Wars character rather than like actually.
I definitely agree with you, and I think like this, you know, I don't know too much about the behind the scenes of this, but it does feel like, well, we need a main character to put on the cover to sell the book, so like just include Leia in it, because she like there didn't even need to be a main character in this. It could have just been like, oh yeah, like there's a little rebel faction starting up on this planet. Like So I do agree with you. I guess none of the characters are that interesting, even though I don't find them like annoying or anything either. Uh, I think what I like about it is just like on a pretty basic, like fun adventure level. I think the action is like pretty solid. The page layout and the art I enjoy, and like I think it has some good like battle sequences and things
Yeah.
like that.
You
And
like that little bounty hunter with the bugles on his
I
head?
do like that
Yeah.
guy actually. I thought that guy was cool.
I was gonna say, as the bounty hunter fit into this piece of Star Wars media,
Hmm.
I was like, he's doing better than Boba Fett. So, no offense to Boba Fett, but
No, you're absolutely right. God, what is the? Sorry, I was just trying to find the race of that, the species of that alien.
oh,
Um, a Gotal.
nice, a Gotol.
Uh huh.
I guess that's
Because he's like
on
a
account of the
goat.
horns. Yeah, I do think they look more like bugles, though, and I'm gonna keep saying that.
No, you're not wrong. So what it was is those horns gave him like a spider sense. Essentially, he could like predict an attack right before it happened. And so then Ranulf like shot his horns off so that he couldn't do that anymore.
He was never the same after that, unfortunately.
No, but he was pretty tough.
He was cool, yeah.
A good threat, I think.
I liked all the colors too during that fight with like the stormtrooper armor on the bike and everything with the explosion in the background.
Yeah,
Very cool.
for sure. I like the part where Grigor has the main girl like captive at gunpoint, or he's like holding her hostage with a gun to her head, and then Ranulf like kicks his elbow right as he's gonna shoot and makes him like blast his own head off. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. What is the girl's name again?
Mora.
Mora, yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw it too.
Sorry, what did you say about it?
Just, there was some tension between her and shoot, what is his name?
Ranulf?
Ranulf, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like this guy Merrick who's like hitting on Mora, and then his like girl Jalos is like jealous of what. That whole part was pretty stupid.
Mora gets like pulled around by these guys also throughout this thing. It's kind of like
she didn't really do anything
yeah.
herself. Yeah.
Well, this is I don't know. All these characters, I have issues with them, but they're just like bouncing around in the world more so than like taking concrete action with things.
I agree. Yeah, you're kind of making me realize this isn't very good. I just sort of mindlessly was enjoying it while I was reading, kind of thing.
I'm glad though. I mean, there is cool action in here. I will say though, I also don't know if I like the art style that much. It feels like a little, man, trying not to be super mean to it, but it feels like a coloring book. Maybe it's the coloring I don't like. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. I kind of see what you mean by that.
Something about it is like off.
It does look a little like childish or something in a weird way that doesn't mesh with some of the content of the story being a little dark. And like there's an alien race called the Hidrachi that are kind of cool looking guys that have some sort of precog ability that they tap into the flow of the future or something. And and there's like this guy Chino who's the adopted father of Mora, and he's like, people think he's crazy and he's an outcast of the town. I don't know. They're all right, but yeah, there's like an image of when the Empire decides to just go crazy and like start raging in the streets, like two of them like tied up to a burning pole and stuff while like people are crying at the bodies and things like that. It's like, okay.
I know we've gotten like these little details through these comics we've read of just like terrible atrocities the Empire has committed across the galaxy. I'm curious if there will be a point where like something in Star Wars is is just like, hey, you're gonna be here with us on the ground floor as one of these things happens or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Like, yeah, because I mean, we've seen a lot of bad stuff happen like after the fact or from a distance. Or like, yeah, even in Dark Forces, like you go the video game, you go to that planet after the Dark Troopers have been launched there, and all the
Yeah.
buildings are shelled out and everything, and
A lot of it is usually like reconstruction based. Like, oh, we have to go fix this area that was like destroyed because something happened.
yeah, yeah. Even in the very first movie, like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, the stormtroopers go there and
Who?
like burn their kind of bomb their house out and kill them, and then we only see that of like getting back to it after the fact.
Yeah. And, I'm not saying I need to see, like, brutal violence and whatnot. I'm just curious because that's a different type of choice. That sets a different tone for a story. I just...
For sure. It could be interesting to have something from a perspective of, someone who survived a thing like that. Because we know the Empire be doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and we're dancing around it more and more now. So, I don't know. Getting into the 90s, I'm like, you can see the edginess... And I say that endearingly in this case, seeping in a little bit,
Yeah, yeah. So far, it's been like pretty fun edginess, I think.
Yes, I agree. That's why I have to make the cliff note that I say it endearingly, because there is a lot of like 90s edginess that I think can be too imbued in certain projects, so then it gets really like, ugh. But that has not at all happened yet.
I agree with you. I think like the closest kind of thing we've gotten to that is just the attitude and design of Kyle Katarn, but even that is like fun because of like the crunchy voice acting and everything. Like I don't know. They're not even that good, really. They're just.
So for this comic, do we follow up on this ever, or is it sort of a one and done?
This is kind of it for this.
I'm curious how early in like Louise Simonson's comic writing career this was.
It was after she. It was after all that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. I keep forgetting like where we are on the timeline.
Yeah, this
is
is
90s, so she already wrote like X Factor and New Mutants and everything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That is interesting.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, pretty late into her Marvel timeline, I feel like. But
it really throws off how I think of Louise Simonson. I don't say that in a bad way, but just like trying to get a good feel in her writing style. I'm like, yeah, I dislike Power Pack, and I loathe the characters. The writing itself isn't bad of Power Pack. I just like loathe the characters. I just think they're so annoying.
Well, yeah, but they're like 5.
I know, but like, can they stop? God, they're...
But that's not for you. It's for 7-year-olds.
Okay, then tell me why during a fucking mutant massacre I have to
with Thor and everything.
Yeah, and I have to watch these kids like take on Sabretooth.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. You're right.
So if it's not for me, get it the fuck out of my mutants.
You're right. It shouldn't tie in with that stuff.
Anyway,
I think it's just because it happened to be like the same writer, so it's easy for her to like keep track of the storylines.
And to be completely fair, I do like Franklin Richards, who does get like put in Power Pack for a little bit, and I do think the issue where they annihilate Sabretooth in the sewers is really funny.
Yeah,
and I think it's super fun. Not to like completely...
It's one of Sabretooth's like first appearances too.
Yes, dude, literally, and he fucking... First, he like goes to the mansion and tries to fight Psylocke, who's there alone, and she crushes him. Then he goes to try and fight Polaris, and she like annihilates him.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he fights Power Pack, loses. Then he fights Daredevil, loses. It's really fun. Like during Mutant Massacre, dude's just running around taking hits. It's embarrassing.
That's... Wow, I kind of forgot about that, but you're right.
Power Pack's the cherry on top of it all, though. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, you don't want to get beat by Power Pack, bro. They fight like dinosaurs and stuff.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Not to make it an X-Men podcast, but...
No. Yeah, please stop.
I'm so sorry.
Well, we can just go ahead and jump on to Rogue Squadron if you want.
Okay. I'm super curious your thoughts on this one, because originally... Like I said, you seem to indicate that you were really enjoying it. Maybe I picked up on that wrong. And then before we started, you were like, "Well, just wait."
Well, I just, I figured we were about to talk about it, so I'll just wait to say my thoughts until we got here. But yeah, I didn't love it by the end of it. I liked the first issue, and I'm like, for whatever reason, he's never been interesting in anything I've seen yet. But I just always like Wedge Antilles a lot, and I want to like see more of him. So I'm just like, yeah, here's Wedge and the boys, and they're like, oh, a squad of X-wing pilots. That's cool. And like, I like the aerial combat in this. I think is actually laid out and illustrated in a pretty fun, dynamic way, and
I agree.
Some cool specific moves that they do in this that would be hard to pull off in a movie.
So. It looks super dynamic, and like the colors do really well for it in this run.
I think especially like the ships look really good, and the ship battles are good. The story itself is very weird and almost non-existent. But I was really curious to read these because I don't know if we'll talk about it too much on the podcast, but I will eventually, I think, read these books. But Michael A. Stackpole, who's like the story credit on this, the next year, pretty soon, so he's probably already working on it by the time these were being worked on too, starts like the Rogue Squadron series of novels that people like really like a lot. And like from this era of Star Wars novels, at least from the circles I've seen online, the most talked about things are like Heir to the Empire #1, and then the Rogue Squadron books second.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And people really like them a lot.
That's interesting. I wonder what the story of it is, because I mean, these characters, it sounds kind of like you said, there's not too much like strong narrative here, but I don't know. I hesitate to say I didn't enjoy reading this because I didn't enjoy that there's like not too much happening, but I do kind of like the characters.
Yeah, me too. They're kind of fun, and like I like the Celestian guy. I forget his name, but who like sings a lot.
Oh yeah,
they're like, hey,
got any more music balls or whatever?
Yeah. They're like, hey, he just does that, and he can like hear that the ship is. That a Star Destroyer is coming over the North Pole, and they're like, it's not on any scans. And he's like, yeah, but I hear it.
Yeah.
Like, he's cool. I like that blonde guy who's like the Alderanian. He was an Imperial pilot.
Who goes undercover, basically.
Yeah. That's cool. A fun part of the story, I think, him undercover.
Yeah, I like that. I like when he has to go... basically, like, prove himself to the imps, as they call him.
Yeah.
And he like punches that guy in the face, and there's like, yeah, every team has one jerk.
Yeah.
Like, well, not just one. And then the leader comes in, and he has to like prove himself to that guy too. That's fun. Yeah.
And then the mustached guy's like, hey man, respect, but I gotta back up my squad. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, there's like some pretty realistic, like, not like I've like been in the military, obviously, but some somewhat more like nuanced dialogue exchanges going on in this beyond just like characters text boxing what the exposition is and explaining the plot, which was going on in River of Chaos a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And it happens in this too, but like this is very much more trying to have realistic dialogue where people will say like two things in one sentence and someone will respond to one of them, and then like another thing will happen, and then later someone's like, oh yeah, and then that thing you were talking about before, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Which is not really something you see a lot in comics until like more like Bendis era of stuff, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe that's why I liked watching them go through their dialogue and just having these character interactions. That's why I'm like, oh, the book does kind of interest me, because like I said, if you take these characters and you put them attach them to a story that has like a lot going on, I could see them thriving in a setting like that,
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I'm gonna keep reading these comics, even though I don't have them on our list right now, because this was like the first arc, a pretty self-contained story on a planet, and at the end of the planet they all leave and they just kind of take a new character with them. So it's like, okay, well, this plot wasn't that good, but I'm down to give another try to these characters in a new story. Maybe the second story is much more interesting. I don't know, but yeah, I thought I had read these before, but I don't think I have actually. Like, I don't remember any of this rereading it. So
How far on does this series go? It's ongoing, but it's how many
like
issues?
34, 36 issues, I think.
Pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
So, do you know, was this popular at the time when this one came out?
Yeah, it did. It did pretty well.
The art, I think, is pretty good. Like
Yeah.
for the books we've read today, I really like this one's artwork.
Me too. I guess we'll.
And the covers, oh my goodness, yeah, I could see those selling super well off in a store. I would buy that cover.
Wedge standing in front of the X-wings.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Dark Horse has had some really cool, like, painted covers for a lot of these projects. I really like them.
Yeah, I agree.
They look like the old Marvel illustrated trading cards a little bit too.
They do.
Similar style.
They got like that. I mean, Marvel does it now a lot when they want to give a little bit of prestige to a book. They're just like, okay, Alex Ross, do the covers.
Yeah.
And people think it's like high art.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the covers are amazing. Let's see what's going on the inside.
Yeah.
But
that's me. I'm the sucker who will always buy an Alex Ross and Peach Momoko cover.
I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. You know, covers are to sell the book. And if you promise, like, if the cover can capture some kind of promise of something cool or some energy that's there, it's like, well, maybe that's in there.
Yeah.
You know, the comic covers are a weird thing. But
Yeah. There's many a book with a great cover that is bad interior in writing and art even.
Well, the cover artist on this is Dave Dorman, who's been doing the covers for some of the other things we've been reading. And the interiors is Alan Nunes, which, yeah, I really liked those. Yeah, like I said, especially the ship sequences. I mean, the opening of the first issue is just kind of like a battle with X-Wings and TIE fighters, and they're all, bantering and taking down these TIE fighters. And there's a move that someone does where they hook the wing of the TIE fighter, like, inside the wing of the X-Wing and, like, rip the wing off and then make it spin out into another one and stuff. And I was like, yeah, like, that's what I was hoping this would be.
Yeah.
And the maneuvers and everything are actually, like, described in a pretty followable, satisfying way.
I think this is the best a comic has done for, like, illustrating those types of aerial battles. Because I know I've also said before, so I think it was Dark Empire, I was like, these battles in space look like nothing to me.
Yeah.
Like, just very static, big ships, you know?
Right.
But, like, that, I see the movement and, like, strategy and what they're doing going on in this one a little better. So props to them for that.
Yeah, I agree. I like the part where the blonde guy calls his R2 unit while he's flying the TIE fighter to kind of have like a decoy X-Wing go.
Yeah.
And then he's like, holy shit, the X-Wing is taking out the whole squad. Like, how's my R2 unit doing those moves? And then it turns out, like, Winter was in there and she was like, yeah, I got in the cockpit to try and, like, contact Wedge, but it took off.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess I'll start flying.
That reminds me of another funny droid moment. And man, I hope again I'm not mixing. No, wait, I think I am. No. Okay, it happens in this. It's when they're going to, like, their little secret. What's this one or the other one? Holy shit!
There was a silly droid in River of Chaos too.
Is it the one that they blindfold to bring?
Yes, that was River of Chaos. Yeah.
Okay,
that was funny.
Sorry, I, like, read these both, like, back to back very late, and, like, they blend together to me now.
Well, it is kind of similar vibes, like, in a way. They are different, but they are dealing with, like, non-force users on the ground, like, sort of, regular old people type of thing. So it makes sense.
Well, just to say, I thought that was we're going backwards now, but that was very funny that they didn't want this droid to have insight onto their location, so they blindfold it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
As if maybe it doesn't, but I would assume those droids have, like, some geographical, like, just a GPS type thing going on.
They can, like, remember where they've been probably in the computer. But
yeah.
That was funny.
But cool to see Winter getting utilization in this comic too.
Mm-hmm.
Not a character I thought we'd be seeing again, really.
No, no, she's in the books I'm reading now,
Oh,
and
okay.
she's in these too.
Did she make a film appearance ever? Winter?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Spoiler.
just yeah, character I love, Winter.
Yeah, I know you're a big Winter fan.
Hmm.
Well, she's kind of just like a badass in this though, which is cool. She just kind of shows up and is like smarter than everybody and can handle her business, and I think she's, I don't know, pretty convincingly cool in
Yeah,
this.
I like that she's got the built-in ability of not even being really Princess Leia's sister, but I guess they just look so similar
Yeah,
that
yeah.
she's constantly mistaken for her, which was said in Heir to the Empire, to
Yeah.
be fair. But it is kind of funny that, like, they're like, everyone is like, you are Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly so.
The art doesn't really make her look that much like Leia, I
know.
don't think.
I was confused for a moment. I was like, what? Why do they think this is Princess Leia?
But it was weird because like there was that part where the whatever like imperial guy who's in charge on this planet that they're on like looks at a picture of Princess Leia to like compare it with Winter, and it's like this faded like half thing picture. It's supposed to kind of communicate like, oh yeah, like this is why it's kind of like easy for her to do the mix up because people don't really know what Princess Leia looks like that much. But it's like, what what do you mean? Like we have like faster than light travel and stuff. Like I know we have like hologram screens and things like that. Like we have criminal databases and things like
Yeah,
we
and-
would all know what she looks like.
As we learned in River of Chaos, there's like wanted posters for her, I guess, out there too.
Yeah.
So like it is well known because they were immediately like, look, that's Princess Leia saving us. So like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of funny.
It's it is funny. It's not like I don't know, like a bunch of Imperials are about to ambush them and she's like, okay guys, quick, pretend I'm Leia. Pretend I'm Princess Leia right here.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of like the characterization of Wedge in this too, because he's a little more than just like a completely boring leader guy. He's kind of like arrogant and brash, and it's like we were talking about in the last issue, like that's really important for a comic book when you don't have an actor playing a character to make sure that they have like a personality trait that comes through in the writing. And I think that does, where they're talking about like the second Death Star and he's like, well, a lot of people say they give like Lando the credit for blowing up the second Death Star, but I actually fired the proton torpedo that set off the chain reaction for it at the end. So like something like that. And it's like, oh, okay. So he kind of thinks he's like Mr. Cool a little bit. And then he gets like humbled a little bit a few times through this. And I'm like, okay, I think that might be like his thing throughout this book where he's gonna get a little cocky and then get humbled and learn. And
yeah, you're a big Wedge fan, man. I love that. I love that. I'm sad for you then. The book. I mean, there was a lot of Wedge stuff, but it was much more Tycho focused. I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Is that the blonde guy's name? I think so.
I think yeah. But yeah, I agree. I like that. Like Wedge feels like he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I guess I don't know if that's the right phrasing to use.
Yeah, he's always like. I could see that a little bit because he feels a little bit like, oh, like, well, everybody remembers Luke, blew up the Death Star, but hey, I was there too. I fucking shot the X-Wings off the TIE fighters off his back, man. I'm one of the only people who survived that thing. Like, yeah, kind of interesting little, and it's not like overwhelming in this, but you get little hints of like maybe he has a little like resentment that he's not letting out.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, his old pals really ascended in the world. And not that Wedge hasn't, but they're at different places,
Yeah, you're right. And I like how there's like a little hint at Thrawn in this too. It takes place like before that, but they're like, there's rumors of a new Grand Admiral around, like refocusing, Imperial strength or whatever. So I wonder if that will continue throughout the series, like, because when we see him in Heir to the Empire, he's already like at this powerful place of being in charge of the Empire at that point. I wonder if we'll see a little bit of like his rise to power in these comics or something like that.
Yeah, so interestingly, there was also like the timeline that they give you before these books, which is the like I think I mentioned before. I ran into a timeline or a similar one when I was reading the adaptation of the Thrawn comic,
Right.
or the Thrawn book in comic form. So wait, where was this story? This was right.
This is pretty much right after Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Or actually, I think it's right before the Thrawn books, actually.
Okay.
Closer to that.
I tried not to look too much into that timeline because I was like, I don't know how much stuff will be spoiled. Like, I saw the Tales from the Jedi stuff at the very, like,
way
top.
Back there. Yeah.
It's
mostly, I think that timeline really only has, like, the 90s stuff on it for some reason. So it's not too bad. But maybe I'm also just glazing over stuff that I'm not paying attention to. What?
We got a Wookiee in here.
Yeah. Who actually does some cool stuff.
Yeah, lives up to sort of the mythology of Wookiees that we've heard about, them being violent and whatnot.
He takes out a TIE fighter with a big stick. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's another life depth Wookiee situation going on. Maybe a little parallel to what could be a Leia situation in the future if Han Solo ever passed away.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but you're right though. She was like, "This is my husband's life debt, and he died, so it passes to me, and he hangs out with me all the time."
I thought that little story was like pretty cool in this too.
Yeah.
Where like the Wookiee's like so mad that he like couldn't fulfill the duties of that life debt, so he just like seeks her out basically. Like that's cool.
It is. Yeah, it's interesting. I like him like going as fast. They're like he'll be fast, just as fast as us on speeders through the trees. Like that was cool. Yeah, and we mentioned it before, but the traitor guy in this, who it's very obvious that he's the traitor, and all the characters are super oblivious to it, and then there's a point where Wedge figures it out, but still lets him do like 3 or 4 more dangerous things before being like, I actually knew it the whole time. Which that was kind of a lame part of it, but the traitor, I guess we don't actually see him die, but we can presume that he probably dies out in the woods because he like reaches in to. What is he doing?
It's one of the suits or whatever. It like lands on his hand and like not decapitates it, like amputates it.
The space trooper armor. Yeah. That he's trying to like get inside. It's so sharp it like cuts his arm off, and then we see one of them animals.
Oh yeah.
Either that cut his arm off or the animal bit it off. It doesn't actually show the action of it, but
you kind of just see the next panel of like the bone and blood.
And then the animal has his arm in its mouth, which was a pretty gnarly image too.
Yeah, what were they called? Ruths, something like that.
Something like that. They were kind of cool.
I liked them. They were like hyena cat type things almost.
And I like the little world building lore piece of that drink that everybody keeps talking about, and then they're like, it takes like 5 years to compress the grounds from this drink into a disc that we can then throw to like ward off these animals because they're allergic to it. Yeah. That was cool.
That is cool. There was a lot of cool stuff with the animals too. There was like the temple where all the animals like are attracted to because of the light from it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like physiological details that we got about these creatures.
Yeah, I guess these writers are pretty interested in like the nitty-gritty tactile aspect of Star Wars, which is awesome. So
I liked it. Yeah,
I guess I do like these overall, even though the plot is like we said, super weak and meandering, but like the moment to moment things that are happening, the character interactions and the action is like quite solid, I think, and little lore pieces here and there that are interesting.
Talking about this one after the fact, I think I like it more than I initially did reading it. Just like it's sitting in my head for a little bit, just because the characters are like cool and fun, and I don't mind the missteps as much here because I guess maybe because I like them so much. I don't know.
Yeah, the characters here are definitely more interesting than River of Chaos, so it is a little more forgiving of a boring or slightly confusing plot in this one too. Like it's so simple but somehow confusing. Like the whole thing about like meeting up with the targeter contact and everything and like
Oh yeah, who was Winter? Right?
yeah, well that was
Yeah.
Winter, and at the end she's like, I'm Targeter, and we're like, okay, right, like I remember you talking about Targeter the whole time, but that
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. You're bringing food to people or something, like I don't
Yeah,
know.
there was an abundance of details in here that didn't necessarily like make connections in my head, at least. Also,
Yeah. I just remember too, Winter fixes the broken leg of that other guy too. And there's this moment where like, holy shit, you can fix broken bones? What else can you do? She's like, well, I can't cook. Or was that the no, wait, no, I'm sorry, that wasn't Winter. That was oh yes, it
It
was.
is
Yes,
Winter,
it was.
yeah.
It was.
mm-hmm.
And that guy and her kind of start flirting a little bit, so maybe they might have a
yeah,
little
that's true.
relationship going on.
I screenshotted that too because I thought it was a funny like admittance from Winter there in that moment. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I can do that, but I can't cook. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay. Like,
Well, he said like, "What can't you do?"
Yeah.
And they were eating her food. right there,
yeah,
so.
sure, okay.
He says pretty hard to mess up a protein bar. Like
Alright.
yeah, like realistic Star Wars banter, which maybe added to the confusion of the plot sometimes because of like what I said about how people don't necessarily address like everything that someone just asked them or whatever, or they respond in a realistic way, or they get distracted halfway through or something.
Yeah.
So that made it a little hard to follow like the mechanics of what was happening, but also led to a little more interesting characters too. So
Yeah, I would say I don't necessarily mind something that's not narratively strong as long as the character moments are stronger. And not that they're super, super strong here, but pretty good.
yeah, I agree. It's kind of like what we were saying in Heir to the Empire too. Like at least for me, the sequel is Dark Force Rising is super meandery and doesn't have a strong plot, but I like the way he writes the characters enough that I'm still like pretty forgiving of that and enjoying the moments as they happen. You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading this.
Well, cool. You'll have to let me know if there's like a plot line that comes up that is one we should take a look at again here.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, if there's something that really sticks out as something awesome, then maybe we'll take a look at it on here.
If
again.
they get wrapped up in some crazy shenanigans with Amazia Denmother of the infamous Black Hole game,
Yes, sir.
I need that text.
Oh well, yeah, no, definitely. If she shows up,
Yeah.
You'll
Or
be the-
Jackson.
hey, yes, thank you.
Yeah, not you, but the
I know the Green Rabbit.
Yeah.
yeah.
Quilly.
Yeah, that's the other guy. Yeah, the porcupine
Yeah.
guy.
So I have to bring them up every once in a while just so we never forget where we came from.
Yes, for real. Yeah, I guess if we really want to be nice to these comics, we can compare them to those and
Yeah.
say, wow, well, these are amazing compared to that.
Han Solo didn't get his winnings immediately stolen by pirates and then sent off on some zany adventure.
Luke wasn't like fighting dragons in the ocean. Yeah. These feel pretty grounded, pretty nitty gritty people going through their day type of stuff.
I appreciate there do seem to be trying to capture like very difficult, large to wrangle stories that like echo out into a larger galaxy too. So like I want to give them some credit for like the challenge of that. Like it doesn't at all seem like an easy thing to do. I guess like there is foundation little stuff like Zahn's work to build off in like the role playing game that I see people like picking things up from there here and there.
I was gonna say, I bet you Louise Simonson's Gotal telekinesis is from the role playing game.
Oh,
Maybe not,
maybe,
but that
yeah.
seems like a power that maybe was from there. Yeah.
I could see that, yeah, and just like the idea, like force sensitive stuff, and like there was the gambler in here earlier in Louise Simonson's story where like Leia was like, "Oh, are they like a force sensitive gambler or whatever?"
Mm-hmm.
Or what am I mixing stuff up now again? Whatever, it's all getting muddled in my head. But just saying that I've seen the thread from the role playing game to these stories. So I don't know what it is about. I feel like particularly the stories today are like getting very muddled with other stories that we've read, and I don't know if it's just like I said last time, it does feel like in a sense we've been treading the water of this kind of era of comics. And I don't say that in a bad way again. I think I said I like swimming last time. So it's fine. But it does get all mixed up in the head a little bit.
I agree, and I think that's why the Tales of the Jedi ones are so fresh and really stand out for me, because everything else is still sort of in this original trilogy aesthetic and era, and the same types of ships and aliens and people are in all of them, really, and stormtroopers and whatever. So we're very close to some really new stuff pretty soon.
Okay.
We are getting there.
All right.
Any other Rogue Squadron thoughts, or should we just quickly talk about next episode?
Let's talk about what we're doing for our 18th birthday.
Yes, sir. Our big episode where we're going to endorse our candidate of choice,
Yeah.
right? We can vote.
And smoke some cigarettes, unless, I don't know, did they change the legality of...
I think in most states it's 21 now for cigarettes too. But
Right.
hey, our whole lives growing up, it was 18 for a long time.
What is it in California? I don't know.
I think it's 21.
Okay.
Here, I think.
All right, we'll scroll. What can you do at 18 now then? That you could, like, what is the...
Vote. Gambling's 21 now
Okay.
too, right? That also used to be 18. Like, go get a lottery ticket or whatever.
Oh, wait,
People would say that,
you can't get one if you're not 21 anymore?
Hey, I guess I don't know. I mean...
Yeah, we phased out of that, really.
Yeah.
Luckily. Being the big gamblers and smokers that we are.
Yeah, I know. I smoke cigarettes all the freaking time. So,
well, maybe next episode we can play a game of what's the card game?
Sabacc.
Yeah. Man, I had it in my head, but I didn't want to say it wrong.
No, you got it. You got it. And
Tatonita,
Sabacc, and never mind. We'll circle back to that later. Next time on our 18th, on our big adult episode. I guess we can go to porn websites now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, war. Yeah,
different mindsets there.
True. It's kind of the same thing, though, right?
I would say you're in the trenches.
Clicking the yes, I'm 18 on Pornhub is kind of the same as the doors coming down on the Normandy boats.
Yeah. It's exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Just get assaulted with a bunch of stuff. Right?
Reminds me of this beautiful poem called The Convergence of Twain. Have you read it before?
I've heard of it.
It's about how the Titanic, as they're making the metal, building it, at the same time nature was building the iceberg. And I don't know. I've superimposed what you just said into that poem now, and
it's pretty.
And the beauty,
I can see why.
The beauty stands.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah,
that sounds like a cool idea for a poem.
Yeah, like the contrast between war and porn.
No, I meant the original poem. Like nature and technology.
It's genuinely a wonderful poem.
Yeah. I have definitely heard of that. I don't think I've actually read it, but anyway, next time on our adult porn voting go to war episode, we are talking some more Dark Horse comic books. We've got our next Tales of the Jedi miniseries, The Sith War. Let's go.
Whoa. Infighting. Or maybe not. I don't know.
I have read this, but I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't know what happens. So I'm excited to get back to it. We've got the conclusion of the Dark Empire trilogy, Empire's End, a 2-issue wrap-up to that.
It's only 2 issues.
Only 2 issues. I know. I'm not really looking forward to reading it either.
Yeah.
And then we've got our first of a few Boba Fett one-shot comic books, The Bounty on Bar-Kooda.
Okay, hopefully these will be cool. I cannot see them doing a thing where they have him as the central character and have him look like such a loser still. You can't do it, so I hope they're cool.
I don't want to get your hopes up too much, but I will say I just read this individual issue 3 months ago, and it is pretty good.
Okay.
I like it. And I was kind of reading it as I was falling asleep. I'll do more of a, focused reading this time, but I did definitely enjoy it.
Okay, cool.
At least a few months ago. Maybe my mind's totally changed now.
Even if we just get some good moments of Boba Fett actually delivering on what he's promised, that'd be great.
Just being badass, just winning a fight,
It'd be nice to see.
Then we have the sequel to Rebel Assault, Rebel Assault 2, The Hidden Empire, a video game.
Oh, okay.
And, this is quite similar to Rebel Assault 1, so we can just touch on it briefly. But guess what? I just freaking beat that shit the other day. It's truly one of my biggest proud gaming accomplishments because it was really hard.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just the same as the first one was with controlling the ship through the canyon and stuff. Anyway, we'll talk about it next time, but that's what we got. Anything to say to the people, Rye Guy?
No, I just hope everyone is having a wonderful life and living out their days as happily as they can.
That's really nice of you.
Yeah.
That's really sweet of you. And isn't that really why we want to get rid of the Empire, right?
It is. Yeah. I like to extrapolate positivity from media, and I like to submerge myself in media that has positive messages. And Star Wars is very, very positive in its messaging. As silly and goofy or dark as it can be sometimes, it is nice that ultimately it's the message is just good. It's be good.
Yeah, yeah. And even if you've done bad stuff, you might have to face some kind of retribution for that bad stuff, but you can always just stop and start being good.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Don't get me thinking about Vader right now, man.
Mm-hmm. I know. Oh boy. I'm excited to watch those again, and that'll be real soon. That we will do a rewatch of the originals.
Are we going to rewatch originals before we do prequels?
I think we have to.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry to do that to you, but I think we really should.
At this point, I do think it makes sense. Before, I was a little more impatient, but I really want to rewatch the originals now with all the totality of knowledge and thoughts and characterizations that have locked in my head.
Yeah, I think it'll be a much different experience. That you're not overwhelmed by oh, I didn't this is different than what I expected or whatever. Kind of thing. Not you were overwhelmed or what. That's not.
It was. I think I said it was weird and not truly an out of body experience, but it just felt like I was dreaming a little bit, and I was getting in my head of what's happening right now. This is not what I thought was correct for the veneer of what Star Wars feels like. Even
I know what you mean for sure. That can totally happen with something that you've seen all the unconnected pieces of over the years, and then it's where did this come from or whatever. But also, we just kind of have to because the special editions come out in 1997, and so we'll see all the changes from the original movies and everything.
Did they release all of this? Did they release the first of the specials before they released the first of the prequels?
Yeah, all three specials came out in 97.
Oh, okay, wow.
And then Phantom Menace was 99. So.
And these have some edits in them?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do.
All right.
Oh my God. We'll talk about it then, but it'll be interesting. I can't wait to see what you think about the prequels and I think about this all the time. What if he freaking hates them? It might be our first argument since the first episode of the show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's funny. We did start off not entirely on the same page, but I've been won over a little bit for Star Wars, and most of these things I think we are at least close in our viewpoint of them, of generally good or generally not so great.
Right.
A few disagreements.
I'm just so curious because well, it'll be fun when we get there.
Okay.
I'm just excited to hear your thoughts.
I want to know what you were about to say.
No, I just, didn't want to just because all I can really say is just waffling stuff right now of won't it be fun to talk about when we do that in the future?
Yeah.
But
okay.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. I'll probably trim down that ending a little bit.
Yeah, probably the beginning would be good to trim down too.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe the X-Men tangent I went on as well. I don't know how long this episode is.
It's an hour and a half right now, so we'll probably leave the tangents in there. But yeah. Hey guys, have a good day.